Hey, Bob, guess what?
What?
It's another episode of Let's Chat Sales.
Let's Chat Sales. Yes.
And today, what I thought we'd talk about is, I don't know, this has not really come up at all in the press or in the internet or so forth, but I thought we might spend a moment and talk about ChatGPT.
Yeah, I struggled. You told me this topic, and I really struggled to find information about it. I had to search Google for a millisecond to get 40.
It has unseated the Kardashians and Kanye and, everything else. And so it's incumbent upon us to talk about it for a few minutes from the standpoint of sales.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great topic. I think the ChatGPT, for those who don't know what it is, it's artificial intelligence that can do a lot of functions. It's advanced a lot in the last, based on the article I read this morning in the New York Times, it's been the last couple of years, but it's just sort of popped up in the last 3-4 weeks.
Yeah, it's really
exploded.
Yeah, and it's going to have, AI in general is going to have monumental impact on our work, on business and sales in particular, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And it's had a monumental impact in other areas.
Yeah.
Security, in cybersecurity, intelligence. It's been very visible
in marketing, in terms
marketing
of it's
for a number of years.
It's
just, I think it's really become commercialized so that the average person can access it.
Yes. Yeah. And so
that's the shift.
Yeah. So what I thought we'd do is we talk a little bit about how this is going to manifest itself and how salespeople and founders and early stage startups should be thinking about AI, right? And
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. So
I wish I'd thought of it.
I think you may have, right? Did you suggest this? Well done. Well played. Kudos to you.
I'm all about words of affirmation. That is my love language.
You're the best. You're the best. Really?
I love it. Keep going. Come on.
That's right. So here's where I thought we'd go. Is like, first of all, how is this going to impact things? And I think it's going to impact things in a lot of ways. There's certainly going to be a lot more automation. The role of salespeople, certainly the sales process is going to change. I mean, we've already seen that just the internet and content and blogs and self-service apps and chat bots and things like that have made the sales
ability
process
to follow someone from platform to platform. So if I look at an ad on your website and then I go to Facebook and I see your company come up again.
Yeah, all these things have had the effect of putting the customer in the driver's seat to learn more and more about who you are before they engage with you. And so now AI is simply going to accelerate and expand upon that to the point where people are going to theoretically be able to make purchases without ever talking to an individual because the AI is going to be able to engage with them in a meaningful enough way. And so that's going to cause us to have to think more about how we coexist with it. And so do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, first of all, I want to give some real applications for it for a founder. And tell me if you disagree, but I think we played around with some AI in the last couple of weeks. And we did some really, what I would call some preliminary investigation of, we're trying to build a course. And we put some keywords in and we both looked at the search and it came back with some really good information. And you went a different method and had a different AI, a little more robust AI system. Not only did it come back with more data, but it also came back with a name that you and I, when we were going through names, had not come up with, that I called you and said, this is really good.
A business name, right? A business product.
A business name. And it also came back with some data that we both said, I don't buy that. I'm not feeling it. This doesn't ring true based on my experience, or this is too simplistic. And I think that's the heart and the crux of the issue here is, how do you use this as a tool, but not make it the whole thing? Just like the internet. I can go and look at Wikipedia and I can see very cursory information about a topic. But to really write about that topic or really understand it, I've got to go past Wikipedia because Wikipedia is crowdsourced. And AI of this kind of function is really crowdsourced. And you've got to have enough knowledge of your audience to realize what they need and what they don't need and what they're going to respond to. Yes, it can give us a whole bunch of blog post titles, which is great.
So there are a couple immediate shortcomings that I see with AI that we need to be aware of. And one is, in a lot of cases, it's very generic. You're like you said, it's going off and it's going out and grabbing stuff off the internet and compiling it together and then presenting it back to you. And there's a certain generic quality to the stuff that it oftentimes generates. So that's a problem. And so one of the things I find is like you get something and it's not really 100% of what you need. It's got big gaps. And so one of the things you're going to have to do is fill in the gaps. So when, AI is going to get better, it's going to improve over time. And I suspect more of those gaps get filled. Right now, it tends to be very useful for short, bursty sort of stuff like blog post titles or summaries and that sort of thing.
Bullet points around a topic, it's really good at.
Yeah, that sort of stuff it seems to be quite good at. But where I think it's fallen down is for anything longer, more robust, it tends to run out of gas and you end up with less than 100% of what you need. The other thing is it lacks any sort of humanity to it. It's not, it lacks the sort of kind of interesting perspective, the language that a human being would incorporate in. And so it doesn't typically weave in stories or examples, in my experience, and it doesn't have a kind of an edgy quality or your own personal voice. And I think that that's one of the areas where individuals can still thrive and coexist with AI.
Well, and I fear that the founder is going to use AI to avoid having to go out and talk to their customers. Really understand the problem and the language. Because it's quick and easy. I mean, we did our test and it took us what? Maybe 3 minutes? It took us longer to put in the 4 or 5 pieces of information it needed to do its magic than to do it. And I think the fear I have is people are going to say, well, you know what? I hate talking to people. I built this really great product or service, and I'm just going to use AI to avoid making calls, going to meet with people, learning problems. And to me, that's the biggest potential roadblock to a founder with a great idea, because you and I spend a lot of time talking to our customers, talking to clients, prospective clients, and we learn a lot from each of those discussions. You learn their language, you learn their real problems, you learn nuance that AI has not figured out yet. And the other part of this, Brendan, that scares me is if you're pulling stuff off the internet and you're not sourcing it, you run the risk of copyright. And if you're putting a website, and mark my words, the next 2 to 5 years, we're going to see a really big case come by where someone who started a very small company, it blew up, and someone goes back and chases their language on their website and finds the original source and says, you stole that from Google or you stole that from Facebook, and they're going to sue.
So one of the things that AI doesn't do, and I think that's critically important, and you kind of touched on this just now, and this is why it's still so important for founders and entrepreneurs and salespeople to think about this and to develop this is that AI is not going to be able to develop a relationship. It's not going to replace the one-on-one conversation, the chance to connect with someone, understand things at a personal one-on-one level. It's not going to be a human being. And my prediction is it's not going to be a human being for a long period of time. And so founders and salespeople and anyone in the entrepreneur community is still going to want to have direct one-on-one conversations with their customers and establish those relationships, because I don't think you can establish a level of trust with a bot. And so that's where I think one of the things that is going to be really important. I think,
and value the output of that relationship over what AI is telling you. We looked at something yesterday. We looked at some pricing that it came back with, and we were both like, that doesn't feel right.
So I think where AI can be really helpful is it can accelerate your arrival at the place you want to be at. I think that what AI can do, help you generate a framework, give you a head start in certain areas. And that's where I think I'm going to use it in some of the course development work that I'm doing, and some of the things that I'm going to be doing going forward is I'm going to be using it as a framework to help my students and founders to get to the point where they get some copy, like get landing page copy, and they get PowerPoints, and they get certain other kind of resources. But I'm expecting it to only get them 70% of the way there. And then what's happening is what I'm telling them to do is this is where I'm going to work with them to get to the next 20, 30% of the way there is, hey, here's what you have. It's a framework. It's a starting off point. And then this is what's missing. This is what's wrong. Here's how you embellish it. Here's the nuance. Here's the right terminology for your particular market, these sorts of things. And so what it does is it just accelerates the process towards getting to where you can have the conversations with the customer and so forth. And so I view it as a springboard for what I'm doing.
I like how you described it when we were talking about this briefly yesterday, that it goes from the blank page to having something to work with.
Yeah. It's just easier.
And I think that's hard for a founder, an entrepreneur, a salesperson to just look at a blank page and say, I've got to create a landing page. I don't know what to put. So if this gets you to a point where you can say, yeah, that works, that doesn't work. Oh, wow, I like that phrase.
Yeah.
I think that is a great thing.
Yeah. And so that's one of the takeaways I would say. And the other takeaway I would say for a lot of founders and salespeople is don't get yourself wrapped around the axle about learning AI, but find someone who is learning AI and then employ them on your behalf. And the reason for that is this is just a little bit like learning a CRM or learning some other support tool. You can't afford to invest your time learning all these specific tools. You're much better off getting expertise in this area so that you don't have to learn how to use Salesforce or some other CRM. You get some expert in that really knows how to get up to speed
management system
and leverage all that sort of stuff. Yeah. And leverage their experience so that you get up to speed more quickly so that you can kind of focus on running your business and so forth. And AI is going to be the same way. I think what you're going to see with AI is the point solutions that come out for the next period of time are going to be pretty mediocre and rudimentary. Here's an example. Right now, if you get one of these marketing ones, it asks you for a color for your logo and it'll generate a logo. But it asks for one color. You can't have a second color. And that kind of
there might be one out there that has 4 colors.
But that's what I'm seeing is that kind of rudimentary sort of set of criteria. The writing tools, the same way. They're very rudimentary. They can't write more than a few paragraphs typically. They're not writing, you can't write a book, right? Which is great, by the way. For now, we're seeing the very early stages. And so where I think this is going to go, at least in the short term, is I think you're better off finding someone who's burying themselves in AI and then using them to kind of put together a more robust solution that uses multiple different tools and programming to kind of glue it all together so it does more of the things that you need it to do. Because right now, I think they're kind of simple.
Well, I would agree with that. I would also add that right now it's largely free.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be the good stuff is hidden behind a paywall because we saw this with data analytics. Data analytics is really expensive to get good quality data analytics. It's available, but you've got to pay. Right now, we're not paying. Most AI that we're working with in ChatGPT and the other ones, it's really inexpensive. And I think it's the tease. And the real value is going to be behind a paywall, and that paywall is going to be steep. And it may be prohibitive to a lot of founders to invest in that.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. This is fascinating. So, just in summary, I think we're going to be talking about this a lot in the coming months. This is going to continue.
We're going to be witnessing a real exponential growth factor because everyone's interested.
What is it? The Cambian explosion right now in terms of new tools.
What does that mean?
And it's a reference back to Cambian is reference to this a period in evolution where there was just an enormous explosion in terms of new species, and they flourished for a period of time, and then a whole bunch of them died off. But there was just an enormous number of new species that came out. This is like 200 million years ago. And we're seeing that right now. We're going to see a Cambian explosion in the area of AI in this next.
And we're also seeing it in technology in general. With all the social media, with all the tools that you can edit things with.
So it's going to be interesting.
The storage space and how inexpensive storage is.
So we'll be talking about this again. So next time, Bob.
Around every couple of months.
We should do it again. So let's just sign off for now. All right. I think we're beating this one up. All right. See you, Bob.
Take care, everyone. See you, Brendan.
That was another episode of Let's Chat Sales, a quick one, of course, and I hope it was helpful. And if it was, please like and subscribe, and more importantly, share it with your friends. There should be something right here you could point to and click on and try that out. It should be good. It's probably good. Certainly short. It's probably helpful. And thanks for listening or watching.